After the commitment of Trent Sisley to Indiana basketball, we have even more recruiting news for Jalen Haralson and Braylon Mullins.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen each and every day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, thank you so much for being here, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. Still dealing with the voice problem, so appreciate you bearing with me. I got the mic turned up, trying to compensate for that, trying to fight through some things here this week. So appreciate you sticking with me through that. And good news is Indiana basketball continues to roll. And we already landed the commitment of Trent Sisley this week, something that we were waiting on, something we were very hopeful for, and now we're very happy that it happened. But now we have even more major recruiting news regarding Jalen Haralson and Braylon Mullins. Talking about those two guys again today, plus what it could mean for the potential of this recruiting class in 2025. All of that right here on Locked On Hoosiers. Well, it's no secret. Jalen Haralson commits today. He's down to his final 3. This is Wednesday. And we have been waiting on this for a long, long time. Jalen Haralson is by far, without a doubt, one of the best players in the class of 2025. He's 6'7", 210 pounds. He plays the small forward, 5-star, top 15 consensus player in the class. And he's the number 1 rated player out of our state in Indiana. And we've been waiting on this for a long time. And we've been working on this for a long, long time. This has not been an easy recruitment. This has not been a smooth recruitment. I don't mean that in a bad way by any means. It's just been a dogfight, man. And Indiana has hung in there round after round, punch after punch, and they've stood tall. And here we are at the very end of his recruitment. He's down to 3. He's down to Notre Dame. He's down to Michigan State. And he's down to Indiana. And I've been telling you that I feel good about this. I feel good about Jalen Haralson ending up at Indiana. Does that mean it's a guarantee? No, it does not. But the fact that we're in it for another top 15, top 20, top 50, top 75 player means we're doing something right. And when you start thinking about what Jalen Haralson can do for this future of this basketball program, he's a program-changing player. I use that term not often because there aren't very many of them. Each class has a couple. And I think Jalen Haralson's one of them. I really do. I think he is, whether he ends up in Indiana or not. I think if he goes to Notre Dame or if he goes to Michigan State, he will be the best player on their team, and it won't even be close. He will make them instant competitors to make it to the NCAA tournament and be threats in their regular seasons immediately. He's that special, and he can do that for Indiana. But what we're hoping for out of, a little bit of greed, is we get Jalen Haralson, and we get a lot more too. We already have Trent Sisley, one of the better shooters in the 2025 class, so I think it's only going to get better as a basketball player, elite defender, really lengthy, really physical, and just a flat-out baller. We want to get Jalen Haralson too. We want to get Braylon Mullins too. We want to get Eric Reibe too. We want to get Mikel Brown Jr. too, right? Yeah, it's greedy, but we want that. And we want that because we know it's possible. We expect that because we can see the potential of what that would bring for the future of this program. More on that later. But Jalen Haralson comes in and raises the level of everybody on the team immediately. I don't care who stays. I don't care who goes next year off the current team we have. Haralson will be one of the better, if not the best athlete on the team in the program. That's why you have to go get him. That's why today is so important. And look, I'll say this. If it doesn't happen, if it doesn't work out, we cannot be disappointed. You can be upset, right? But you can't be mad, I guess, because no, this is not an NIL problem. No, this is not a Mike Woodson problem. This would strictly be Haralson going somewhere where he thinks he's a better fit. It will be better for him. That would be the only thing. And you know what? It happens. It happens. That's recruiting. That's how life goes. But I'm telling you, I feel good. I feel good about Jalen Haralson committing to Indiana. A lot of you have been in the YouTube comments, and I love that. Be sure you get your thoughts down there today as well. A lot of you have been talking about how he is retweeting Sisley's commitment, retweeting Braylon Mullins' top 3, which we're getting to coming up later. He's been very active on social media, and he's been very vocal about how him and Mullins would play really well together because Mullins would be at the 2, Haralson would be at the 3. Sisley could be in there too. He could play the 4. Reibe at the 5. Mikel Brown at the 1. Ho, hello. That's a lot of freshmen, yes. But think about that. You could run that group of 5 at some point if you land them all. Think about how dangerous that would be. Think about how electric that would be. Think about all the threes and the running and the gunning and the jumping and the dunking and the hype we would have inside of Assembly Hall. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. It would be unbelievable. So he's been very active as Jalen Haralson. Does that mean anything? I don't know. You tell me. It doesn't mean nothing. I'll say that. Doesn't mean nothing. And I feel really, really good about where Indiana stands with Jalen Haralson. We're going to talk about this with Braylon Mullins as well because he's got some quotes about his final 3. But it seems that Indiana, the trend and the motto, or I guess the game plan that they took into all of these big-time recruits was, here's what we've done in the past. Sometimes it's worked, and let's be honest, sometimes it hasn't. Here's how we'll change it for you. That's what almost every commit or recruit has talked about is, yeah, they showed me the offense. They showed me how they're going to change it for my game, how it's going to benefit me if I come to Indiana. Now, can they do that for all the players? I don't know. I guess we're going to have to find out depending on how many of them you land. But I think they're going to try. I don't think they're lying. I think they're going to do their best. And so you can do that for Trent Sisley. You can do that for a shooter like Braylon Mullins. You can do that for a pure scorer like Jalen Haralson. You can do that for a pound inside Eric Reibe. You don't have to change anything on that. That's just what we do anyway. All of that's possible here. And I think that's possible with somebody like Jalen Haralson. He commits tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern time. If he commits to Indiana, we will have a video for you immediately, okay? We will have something go up for you immediately on Locked On Hoosiers on audio and on the video side on YouTube. So be sure you watch out for that, okay? If he commits to Indiana, be sure you come right back here tonight at Locked On Hoosiers. So we'll talk about it. If Haralson does commit to Indiana, how about a prediction? How about a prediction before we move on to Braylon Mullins? I think he commits here. I think he picks Indiana. Am I right? Am I wrong? We'll find out in a few hours. But I am predicting Jalen Haralson to commit to the Indiana Hoosiers tonight in the 2025 class. I have a good feeling about it. I think he does. So we'll see if he does. Well, coming up on Locked On Hoosiers, more recruiting news as Jalen Haralson is set to commit somewhere tonight. Braylon Mullins was supposed to make it a top 5. He made it a top 3. And yeah, your Indiana Hoosiers, they're all up in it. We'll talk about that coming up next on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Roy. It's time to highlight my Roy Player of the Week. Roy is a new platform that lets fans make contributions directly to their favorite athletes. Download Roy for iOS or Android and enter referral code Locked On, and you'll automatically be entered into a sweepstakes to win $5,000 cash. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. This week, I've selected Curtis Rourke from Indiana football because he balled out this past Saturday against Charlotte to help Indiana go 5-0. Curtis Rourke was 16 of 20, 258 yards, and a touchdown, which is why I have made him my Roy Player of the Week. And I'm giving Curtis Rourke $100 on Roy. If you were impressed as we were with his performance on Saturday, you can show him some love too. Just hop on Roy and throw in a few bucks. If everyone pitches in just $10, it adds up so quickly for Curtis Rourke and other players. Now, you have the chance to show your appreciation for Curtis Rourke, the quarterback for Indiana, and his standout performance this week, as well as what he'll continue to bring to your program. Get off the sidelines and into the NIL game with Roy. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is also brought to you by LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. They have the tool. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you cannot find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So it's simple. If you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Yeah, 24 hours, you're getting the person that is right for your role. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you for being here, making this your first listen each and every day, your first watch each and every day, and I appreciate you making that. So if you're looking for a way to support the show, support the program that is free to you Monday through Friday, there's a few things that you can do for me. If you're on the audio side of things, I appreciate you. Be sure you follow us on there, subscribe there if it's an option, turn on your notifications so you never miss a new episode. That's Spotify, Apple, Amazon, however you're getting it. Be sure that you are notified every time we post a new episode. If we happen to have one go up tonight, you don't want to miss it about Jalen Haralson, right? Also, on the side of YouTube, be sure you like the video. That's first and foremost. Gets it out there, spreads the word. Other Indiana fans can find it, which they are. Believe me, we're growing. Also, comment down below. Comment down below, does Jalen Haralson commit to Indiana? Will he become an Indiana Hoosier? And your thoughts on Braylon Mullins as well. Do you think he becomes an Indiana Hoosier? I want to react to you in the comments below. And then the best thing you can do, the last thing you need to do for us is right next to our Locked On Hoosiers logo, right to the right of that, there's a subscribe button. Hit that for me, please. That helps the channel grow as a whole. It also has you become an everydayer, and it tells me that you're liking the content over here and that you want to see more of it. So do those things for me. It means the world, and I really do appreciate it because we're having a lot of fun here at Locked On Hoosiers, and I appreciate you being a part of it. Well, we had a bunch of news on Jalen Haralson, waiting in anticipation on his commit coming up tonight. Will he go to Indiana, Notre Dame, or Michigan State? We'll have to wait and see. But we now have a top 3 for another player, a player we thought we were going to get a top 5 for, one that Indiana has felt good about the entire time. He was set to make a top 5. He went ahead and said, you know what? I'm ready to make a top 3. And he did it. Oh, snap. Braylon Mullins. Braylon Mullins, who is a top 20 player in the 2025 class. Remember, this is a kid that was ranked 92, 92nd in the country in the 2025 class. And he has shot up all the way to number 16 to be a top 20 player in the 2025 class. 6'5", 180 pounds. From Indiana, right up the road. He says it's just an hour. It's Bloomington. It's right up the road for me. His final 3, North Carolina, UConn, and your Indiana Hoosiers. Now, some quotes that he had on a couple of those schools. We'll get to those in just a second. Some of you may be saying, well, wasn't he supposed to go to Kentucky? He's visited these other schools. Wasn't he supposed to go see Mark Pope and go check out Lexington? Well, he was. He was, but he canceled it. He said, I'm good. I don't need it. Kentucky, we're good. You do your thing. I don't want you anymore. Okay. Now he's down to a final three of Indiana, of UConn, and of North Carolina. And he was supposed to make a top five, but guess what? It's his recruitment. He can do whatever he wants to. And he has done that with a top three. He is set to commit sometime in October. Some people are saying early October. Some are saying mid-October. Some are saying late October. Personally, what I'm hearing and seeing and being told, I'm thinking middle of October is kind of where I stand on all of that. And they've kept it really, really tight. Same thing with the Haralson family. They've kept this thing really locked tight and sealed, and rightfully so, which is so hard to do nowadays in this social media craze that we live in, right? The world where anything and everything gets out on social media and it just catches like wildfire, right? It's really hard to do that nowadays. But both of these families have done a really good job, and I respect that. I really do. I respect that, and not letting it leak out and letting, podcasts and journalists and articles and things like that just run with it, and fans on social media. Like, I respect trying to keep it as private as possible, because this only happens once. Only happens one time, and it should be your moment to take it all in. And so I think Mullins has done a really good job of soaking it all in, taking in these recruits, or these visits, if you will, and has just enjoyed the process of being a commit, or being a recruit and trying to commit somewhere. So good for him. He is set to commit, I guess, technically any time now. But again, I'm saying middle of October. He had some quotes from his for his three different top three teams: Indiana and UConn and North Carolina, and some of them are interesting. It's some interesting comments that he had, and if you can go and find it, they're on 247 Sports. He talked about Indiana. He says he likes the staff a lot. Talked about how they've showed him the offense, how they have showed how they're going to formulate it around him. He loves Indiana. It's an hour up the road. He said it just kind of makes sense for me, right? Indiana is a place that makes sense for me. He talked about UConn, and I'll be honest, just reading the quotes, and again, these are from 247 Sports. You can go find them online. Seemed like he really, really likes UConn. He says, I love the staff. I have a great relationship with them. I talk to them all the time, and they're back-to-back champs. How could you not want to go and win? It's what he said. Go check it out. And he's right. He's right. How can you blame him in saying those things? He's not wrong. Great staff, back-to-back champs. They're winners, and they put guys in the league. He said that about Indiana as well. And I think it's right there. I really, really do. His thoughts on North Carolina were solid. Just to be honest, I think it was a little less excited than he was for the other two. Says he also loves that staff. He says they're definitely in his top three. They're on the list, is what he said. I don't know. Personally, for me, I think it's down to Indiana and UConn. I really do. I think it is down to Indiana and UConn. And a decision that happens today could impact that. And here's the thing, too. UConn and North Carolina have other shooting guards that they're going after. Current shooting guards that are set to commit at any time now. Anytime. So keep that in mind here. You want other guys that play the position of Braylon Mullins. If you are a Braylon Mullins fan and you want him to be in Indiana, you need to be cheering for other big-time recruits to commit to UConn and North Carolina right now, because it's possible. And if that happens, there's a good chance Mullins won't go there. Doesn't mean he won't, but there's a good chance of it. And I've seen some people who have said, well, what happens if Jalen Haralson commits to Indiana? And if that's already happened at this point, or if it hasn't, then apologies. But if playing the what if game, well, if Jalen Haralson plays in Indiana, does that affect Braylon Mullins? I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think they would enjoy playing together. I think there's a way for them to play together, and that offense would be electric. It would be so much fun to watch with those two, plus whoever else is running in that five with them as well. I feel good about Mullins too, but there's still time on this one. Do I think it's Indiana? Let me say it this way. Do I think it's Indiana's to lose? No, I don't. I think it's Indiana's to win. Does that make sense? I think UConn could be in that one spot right now, but Indiana is 1B. Like, they are right there and have every chance to get to the top, to get to the mountaintop before and when he does finally make his decision. I still think UConn's the team to beat here. I really do. But I also believe that other recruits and other potential commits have a major influence on what Braylon Mullins does. We've seen Trent Sisley already. Could we see Jalen Haralson? How about Eric Reibe? How about Mikel Brown? Could those impact Braylon Mullins? I think they absolutely do. So I guess just hang on is what I'm telling you. Indiana has more work to do, but they're inside the top 3 for top 20 player shooting guard from the state of Indiana, Braylon Mullins. Well, coming up on our final segment on Locked on Hoosiers, what is the potential of this class? And more importantly, what's the potential of this program if you get the type of class that we're talking about? Have that for you coming up on our final segment on Locked on Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked on Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, Thursday night football coming up, all the games on Sunday, and of course 2 games now on Monday nights, which is kind of interesting, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. It's your one-stop go-to app for everything that you need. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com to get started. Final segment here on Locked on Hoosiers. Again, thank you for being here, helping me and getting through this, the voice stuff. It's terrible, man. It's miserable. But trying to get through it, it's that time of year. Happens just about every year to me, believe it or not. So appreciate you sticking through it, making this your first listen, your first watch every single day. If you're looking for your second watch, your second listen of the day, be sure you check out Locked on College Football with Spencer McLaughlin. You've seen him on our Big Ten Squad episodes. We'll have another one of those coming up for you this week as well. You guys seem to be enjoying those. Those are a lot of fun. But he's on those most of the time. And he does the Locked on College Football show. You can go and check that out. Biggest storylines, injury updates. UNLV's quarterback just stepped away from the program. Kind of weird. He'll cover that over there. So go check that out, Locked on College Football, and tell him that Jacob from Locked on Hoosiers sent you. Well, we've talked a lot about these certain players that Indiana basketball is going after. Ones that you already landed, like Trent Sisley. Ones that you're hoping to land, like Jalen Haralson and Braylon Mullins, and the potential of Eric Reibe or Mikel Brown Jr., whoever else is out there that Indiana could try to land. But I want to think about, just for a second, the potential of not just the class, not just the rankings, right? But the potential of the program if those players end up here. I mean, think about this for a second. We're talking about a top 15 player, a top 20 player, another top 15 player, a top 30 player, and a top 75 player that realistically could all be on the same team. That's nasty. That's really, really good. That is high-level recruiting. That is John Calipari, Kentucky type of recruiting with just star-studded freshmen all over the floor. Now, will they all play at the same time for very long? No, probably not. But I do think that's a possibility. And just having those types of players on your team, because there's such high potential there, would raise the roof, raise the ceiling for Indiana basketball. I think it would bring us out of this very streaky time that we've been in, because I think talent and talent acquisition and talent retention has been a major problem here. I think there have been so many times in the past couple of years, even with a couple of good players, it hasn't been across the board, right? I think back to a Trace Jackson Davis team that had a couple of dudes, but could have used a few more. I think back to last year's team that had a couple of dudes, but could have used a few more. I'm tired of being in that spot. I'm tired of being in that situation where we say, well, if we had a shooter, we would have been better. Well, if we had somebody that could play defense, we would have been better. Well, if we just had a guard who could play, we would be better. I'm tired of that, man. I'm tired of being in that scenario. And I think this Indiana staff was in that exact spot as well, which is why they've gone after everybody: point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center. They've gone after everybody in high school recruiting. And if you land even just a few of what you're trying to get, you're going to be a much better program because of it. Then you can use the transfer portal to fill in on the back end. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I just think that we're shooting for the stars and we expect to hit a couple. And I think we will, right? We've already got Sisley. Told you my thoughts on Haralson. And I think we're right there on Mullins. The other guys, we'll get to those as we go. But they're going to raise the level of your program. They can bring you out of whatever it is we've been in for the past handful of years and hopefully can start a trend moving forward for continuing to bring in high-level talent from the state of Indiana, from the surrounding states, all over the country, and make Indiana a destination program once again. Because I feel like we lost a little bit of that shine, don't you? I feel like we lost a little bit of that shine, and credit to other programs who have brought that back or even built that from the ground up. Even in this conference, I think you look around, Illinois is an attractive place to play basketball. Michigan and Ohio State are trying to figure their stuff out. Like, there are so many teams now that are getting more and more relevant in college basketball. We have to find a way to make ourselves a destination program again. And that's what I think this class can bring. You start landing top 15 players, people take notice. I told you that yesterday. And that's where future recruits start to look and take notice as well. That's how you make stepping stones. That's how you rebuild a program. And that's how you get back to winning national championships. So as exciting as it is to see these guys hopefully commit here and play in these colors inside of Assembly Hall, it means more than that. It means more than that. This is building for the next 4 or 5 years, and the potential and the success, the possibility of success for the Indiana basketball program. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you so much again for being here. Shout out to all my everydayers. I appreciate you. I see you, and you are hopefully having as much fun as I am, because lots of content right now. Reminder, if Jalen Haralson commits to Indiana tonight, we will have a brand new episode reacting to that up live on YouTube and on audio as well. So be sure you come right here to check that out if Haralson commits to Indiana. And no matter what happens, we'll talk about it on tomorrow's show, okay? Until then, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.